sector is clear.
Give us everything we got! All wings.
Hello everyone and welcome to the next video of the Dirty Sweatshirt Gang. My name is Bryce and let's get into the next hero versus villain tutorial. Today we're going to be focusing on Anakin Skywalker. Anakin was a player that I initially started the game with and I still prefer him over any other character on the light side fighting. Now the best place to start this video is to discuss each of Anakin's abilities. To begin with, Anakin is the only character in the entire game that has 4. Every other hero has 3. Let's start with L1 or LB, Pull Dominance. Anakin pulls enemies in front of him to a center point, leaving them open for attacks. Anakin shares this move with Kylo Ren, and it is a very useful way to get enemies pulled to your location and get a few free swings in on them while they get up and try to fight back. Here is a clip of me using Pull Dominance effectively. I was being rushed by 3 enemy villains. Since they saw I was alone, they decided to play aggressive and charge at me without using their blocks. I know it can be hard to resist an easy target like I seem to be here, but if these players would have held up their block and dodged forward after me, they most likely would have gotten me. Instead, me and Leia killed all 3 very quickly. Always be on the lookout for players whose block is down or whose back is turned. They are prime targets for Pull Dominance. Defensively, always make sure your block is up if you have enough stamina. Anakin's next ability is Heroic Might, and it is activated by L1 plus R1 or LB plus RB. With this move, Anakin takes highly reduced damage while holding the ability. When released, he pushes all enemies around him, with range being increased by the amount of damage taken while being held. Even though the description says that enemies get thrown further the longer the move is held, I really don't recommend doing that. This is because most players who have seen Anakin use this move 2 or 3 times know what it does, and they simply walk up to Anakin with their blocks held and wait for him to finish the move. If their blocks are up, they will not be affected by Heroic Might, and will usually kill Anakin immediately after he releases because he is vulnerable. I recommend using this move as a tap ability when enemies are swinging around you. Doing it this way will put any enemy that had their backs turned to you or blocks down on the ground right in front of you and open for attack. This is especially effective if you have allies next to you that can help clean up after you knock them. In this clip you can see me use Heroic Might on Kylo Ren and General Grievous. Kylo had just put down his block and Grievous was getting ready to use his strike ability. As you can see, I was able to take care of them quickly, especially after BB-8 came in for the assist. Next we have Passionate Strike. Anakin uses this ability by pressing either R1 or RB. Passionate Strike is when Anakin unleashes a heavy strike, breaching opponent's guard and dealing high damage. As the description reads, this move will penetrate an enemy block, and that is when I believe is the best time to use it, specifically when enemies are at low health and are holding their block waiting for their health to regenerate. Using this move will usually finish them in that scenario. I also recommend using this move as a combo follow-up to Pull Dominance when multiple enemies are pulled to your location, because it will hit any in the area. Finally, we have Anakin's 4th ability, Retribution, and it is activated by using triangle or Y. Retribution is when Anakin's powers intensify whenever he and nearby allies are attacked, building towards the ultimate punishment of his swift and inescapable grip, seizing all enemies around him. This move is different than every other move from every other character in the game and how it is charged and ready for use. Every other move uses a cooldown system in seconds, and some moves can be used faster based on kills or damage given. However, Retribution does not use the traditional cooldown based on seconds. Instead, it uses damage taken by both Anakin and his allies as a charge up. Retribution is basically an AoE force choke into a throw, similar to Darth Maul's chokehold, but Maul throws significantly farther. The description also reads that the move is inescapable. However, I have seen this move blocked by enemies before. I am unsure if that was a glitch on my part or a misleading phrase in the ability description. Either way, the move is very fun to use but also quite difficult for new players to use because you need to survive for a while before the move can get charged up. If you manage to get this move charged, I would recommend using it as a replacement for Anakin's Heroic Might in situations when you are surrounded by multiple enemies swinging around you. Now I'm going to go over each of Anakin's skill cards and give you my opinions on their usefulness. Anakin's first card is Tenacious, and that adds 100 HP when the card is maxed out. This is a very good card to use for Anakin. I usually don't because his HP is already very high, but if you're looking for more survivability, please use this card. Anakin's next card is Massive Strikes, and I always had this card in my lineup. The extra 20 damage per hit for a 25% stamina per hit cost is well worth it in my opinion, especially because stamina regen is fairly quick in this game. Anakin's next card is Pressure, and I personally never use the card, and that is mainly because I don't use the ability as much as I do the other two. Next we have Control the Force, which increases the base radius for Heroic Might. This is a very good card to use if you want to extend the range of your Heroic Might move. Now we have Steamroller, which is a card I never use. It has its uses, especially in game modes like Galactic Assault or Capital Supremacy, but there are better cards for Anakin when fighting in Heroes vs. Villains. Anakin's next card is Fierce Fighter, which reduces Passionate Strike's cooldown time. Again, I mainly only use the move as a finisher or when I have enemies down in front of me, so reducing the cooldown doesn't affect me as much as the other cards do. Next we have Attraction, and I absolutely love this move. Being able to pull enemies from further away is very useful, and I use this ability frequently. Next is Raw Strength, which increases Anakin's base damage for Heroic Might. This card pairs very well with Control the Force. If used both together, you can have an increased area of effect and increased damage. Very useful for people who like to use Heroic Might. And finally, we have All of Them, which increases the damage of pull dominance based on the lower number of enemies that you pull. This is great for Heroes vs. Villains because you would never be pulling more than 4 enemies at a time anyways, so the extra damage is always nice. Okay, that finishes up the tutorial video for Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars Battlefront 2. If you have any questions on how to use Anakin, or if any tips that I may have missed, please put them in the comment section below. Once again, thank you for joining me for another video from the Dirty Sweatshirt Gang. My name is Bryce, and you all have a great time conquering the galaxy.